Hey everyone, my name is Rachel, and I am a current first-year student at Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, which you probably know something about if you are watching this video. I have just realized that there is not a ton of information available to incoming or prospective first-year students for school, and so I thought that it would be helpful to some of you if I kind of talked through some of the more basic details regarding the framework of first year, just to give you a little bit more clarity as you're coming into the process, because I know that as amazing as their website is and the different information that is out there that BSSM collectively puts out, I know that there are still a lot of unanswered questions that many people have regarding school. And so if there was any way I could help you a little bit or answer some of the questions that I wished I had known, that's sort of the purpose of this video today. So here I go. I'm just going to dive in. So I'm 29. I live here in Redding. I moved to Redding a year before I started school. That was actually super helpful for me. I transitioned into the community really well that way. I got a job. I was able to go to Bethel Church sort of whenever I wanted, instead of on the limited school schedule, and was able to take classes and get to know the community, find an apartment. It just, for me, was the best way to settle into school rather than coming straight here, a few weeks before school and just trying to figure out all of that stuff, especially if you don't already live on the West Coast. That can be kind of a big deal because, as you know, BSSM is not like your typical university. They don't have student housing, in large scale. So a lot of it is your responsibility to figure out. And so if you don't live here, it can be sometimes very burdensome for some people. Other people, it just flows. So everybody's situation is different. All I can say is for me, the Lord told me to move here in August of 2016, which I did. And it was the best decision of my entire life. And I can give a lot more details about my story if people are interested in that, maybe in a future video. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened, how I transitioned into first year, and sort of some of the things that go along with it in terms of like school language and all of that. So I applied to school in, late January of 2017, was accepted. The whole process, I think, finished up somewhere in March or April for me. Again, everybody's timeline is different. Some people are accepted within a few hours of their interview. Other people, it takes longer. So it just totally depends on what the school's got going on. So a lot of reason why you'll have a delay in your application process as far as like getting your interview scheduled or getting an answer from them typically has a lot to do with what's going on at BSSM. Because they take seriously the application process, they take seriously the praying over each person that gets in. So sometimes if the school is really busy with other things going on, sending students out on mission trips, for example, that can just be a delay causer. So, for example, all the students, first, second, and third year go on mission trips during the month of April. So if you apply in March or you apply in February, there could be a decent chance of a delay on you hearing about things because April just has the school going in every direction. So just some things to keep in mind. It's not that you're not important to them, but there's a lot going on. So there's that as far as timelines go. But trust Jesus. Whatever he's got going on is good in terms of your overall timeline and what you're processing through and growing in as you wait on your answer. But once you've been accepted, yay! Welcome to the best decision of your life thus far. I cannot say enough good things about BSSM. Like, absolutely was so much and is every day so much more than I could have ever expected. But once you are accepted, I believe, if they haven't changed it, I think you have 30 days to get your initial deposit in, which I think is $450. That may have gone up. I know tuition has gone up this year from like $4,600 to like $4,900 or something like that. So the deposit may go up, the timeline may change, but from what it was when I was accepted into school last year, I had to get in about $450, I think, within 30 days of being accepted to hold my place. Obviously, there are not an unlimited amount of spots in BSSM, so they can't hold your space that someone else would really like if you are not showing a certain level of commitment to the process. So just keep that in mind, and then the rest is up to you as far as how you end up paying for tuition. I do believe that if you paid your tuition off before, a couple weeks before school began, there was like some small discount that you got, so that's helpful if you're able to do that. Other people obviously have to fundraise even while they're in school, and a lot of people come by faith and have half their tuition paid off, and then they get a job and they work the rest off, or they fundraise through their community, or miraculous things happen. I mean, this is the school of the supernatural, so you just never know. Once you arrive in Reading, of course, housing is your responsibility. Getting a job, all of those things. If you're American, if you're international, obviously labor laws and all that won't allow you to work under your student visa unless you are a green card holder. So yeah, a lot of the international students, I so applaud what they go through to come to school, because you have to do a lot of fundraising and a lot of major faith moves, risks, to come here and be sustained when they, can't do what the American students can do, like go out and get a job and have family so close by in some cases. So really applaud the foreign students who make the trek. It's a big deal. Once you are here in Reading and you've sorted out your housing and you start school usually starts the first week of September. That is such an amazing experience. Just the jitters and the excitement of the first week of school. And you are almost always invited into a private Facebook group for your year. And I highly recommend getting on that. That's a great way to build community, and, just partner with people if that's your style. I mean, if you're a little bit more of a keep to yourself kind of person, then, it's still, the Facebook's helpful because you can just kind of observe sort of the temperament of your year and just keep up with people. You will be assigned a revival group pastor, also known as an RGP. One of many. First year has more, obviously, than second year, because first year is typically the larger class. And so you will be assigned an RGP, and you will be also assigned a mentor or an intern, depending on your lingo. But each revival group pastor usually has like 5, 6, 7 third year mentors or interns that are interning for that particular pastor. And they're basically your leadership team for the revival group that you are assigned to. So, of course, the basic structure of the school is there's your first year class, the large-scale class, which is, in my case, this year was about 1,360-ish students from about 65 different countries, with ages ranging from 18 to in their 80s, right? So it's a very broad group of people. All amazing, passionate, fiery revivalists that you will grow to not be able to live without after a certain point. But to sort of siphon that down to more manageable groups of people that you can really build connection with, you get put in a revival group and have a revival group pastor with its interns that oversee that particular group. And the average revival group is about 70 students-ish in it. Again, all ranges of ages, all different nationalities, married couples, singles, kind of the gamut. And in that group, you meet with your revival group once a week. And that's kind of your home base. That's your place to kind of process what God's doing in you each week. That's your place to really try to build community, because the room, you're literally in the Reading Civic Auditorium every day, Monday through Thursday, with 1,300 other people. And so for extroverts, that may be amazing. For introverts, that's often very overwhelming and sometimes very difficult to build relationships on a deeper level within. So revival group helps you kind of connect with your people. And you really trust the Lord. Like, they pray over who they put in whose revival group. They pray over the leader you get. The interns that are assigned to that pastor are there's a process of that. So all of it is really led by Holy Spirit. So you just go in and you trust the Lord with that whole process. But they become family very quickly. So your revival group pastor, they are your main connection point at BSSM. So much that goes on through school will come through them. They will help you process any issues you have, open up different doors that you need open in terms of meeting other people or understanding things. They are your main connection point. And then, of course, your intern that is assigned to you, which that kind of happens after a few weeks, that person then becomes your main liaison, kind of the person in between you and the pastor, the person who can spend a little bit more time with you than the pastor can, because usually the revival group pastor's schedules, they are doing a lot of different things besides just overseeing your particular revival group. Although that's their primary concern, they are doing a lot of other things, so sometimes their schedule is not as available as your interns will be. Those are your main point of contact. You are assigned a church service. So not only will you be in class Monday through Thursday, but you will also be at an assigned church service each weekend. That could be a Friday night service, that could be a Sunday morning service, or a Sunday evening service. And that could also be between the main College View Bethel campus, or that could be at the Twin View campus. So you may be back and forth between different buildings. You may be assigned to the overflow room if you're on the main campus. So you're kind of all over. And then every 5 weeks, I believe it is, you rotate to a different service. So you may have been on the 8 a.m. service at Bethel College View for 5 weeks, and then you're rotated out and you're at the 6 p.m. Twin View service on Sunday nights. So, and then you'll rotate out after 5 weeks. So you're kind of getting a different experience of church culture, depending on what church service you're assigned. And then, of course, you have your standard Monday through Thursday classes, like I've said, and you can choose either the morning schedule or the late schedule. But regardless of whether you choose a morning or a late schedule, morning or afternoon, everybody, regardless of what schedule they've chosen, will be in the main session. So the main session begins at 12:30 and ends at 3:45 Monday through Wednesday for first year. And then on Thursdays, main session will begin about 12:30 and end usually around 2:30. It's a shorter day because Thursday is your city service day. I'll explain more about that in a minute. But Monday through Wednesday are always going to be your core days. They don't change as far as main service session time. Everybody's together in the Civic for those times, and that's when you're going to have your Bible class with Dan Fairley, or some of the different Bible teachers that may come in. But Dan Fairley is pretty primarily in terms of teaching our Bible class each morning. So you come into school, class starts at 12:30, and you will have Bible till about 1:30, 1:45, depending on what the schedule looks like that day. Then you'll go into worship for usually 45 minutes to an hour, and that'll follow up with a speaker. So, your speaker could come on 2:30 and speak till 3:45, 2:15 till 3:45, something like that. And it's always a different speaker. It could be Chris, it could be Bill, it could be an evangelist, it could be some other speaker from a different ministry, you name it. Could be Mark Brooks, right? One of the senior overseers of school, or Leslie Crandall, another senior overseer. And so these pastors, everybody kind of rotates out, takes different turns, but you get a lot of time with a very important group of influential leaders. So that's amazing. From 12 until 12:30, Monday through Thursday, is pre-service prayer. So that's your opportunity to come into school and just soak in the presence of God and pray after whatever is on the heart of the particular revival group pastor who is praying and leading prayer that day. So that's really a great time to posture and position your heart if you're the kind of person who's willing to get to school a bit earlier. So that's like your core schedule. Then you have what's called AMTs, or tracks. So when you sign up for school, the main session, you don't really get a say in that because that's the core that everyone does. And then beyond that, you do get to choose whether it's morning or afternoon schedule. And I believe it's kind of first come, first serve on that. And I believe they do ask that if you're a foreign student that you choose the afternoon schedule, simply because American students who do have jobs, they tend to go for the morning schedule so that they can work their jobs the evening after school. So they have a ton of people choosing morning schedule. That can make it very difficult for people trying to maintain work. So just FYI on that. And when you choose the morning schedule, the afternoon schedule, all that's really going to affect is your AMTs and your tracks. So when I say an AMT is an accelerated ministry training class. So basically that's like an elective. And you are allowed to choose one every 5 weeks, kind of like in the same pattern that you rotate out of church services, you're going to rotate out of AMTs. If you choose an AMT, they're all dependent on what pastors and leaders are available and that kind of thing. And the pastor's schedule kind of determines whether that AMT is going to be offered in the morning or in the afternoon. AMTs are only taken on Tuesdays. So Monday, you're going to have normal schedule. Wednesday, normal schedule. Tuesday, you're going to have an extra class. So your AMT, if you're in the morning schedule, you're going to choose from the AMTs listed for the morning. If you are on an afternoon schedule, you're going to typically choose an AMT that's on the afternoon schedule. And the AMTs, here's the thing about them though. Like, even if you have let's say you have technically chosen the afternoon schedule. If you see an AMT that you're dying to take and it's only offered in the morning, Tuesday mornings, there's nothing that says, oh, you're on the afternoon schedule, you're not allowed to take this. Like, really, you can sign up for it. So, but obviously, try to choose what you've assigned yourself to be on, which is afternoon or morning schedule, whatever that looks like. But some people just really want to take a certain class and it's only offered in the morning, but they're on the afternoon schedule. You can sign up for it. So AMTs typically start on Tuesday mornings at 10:30 in the morning and they go until 12. So you get to scoot right into pre-service prayer when it gets out. And they're offered in different rooms in the Civic Center. And same for afternoons. So if you choose an afternoon AMT, that will start usually about 4:15. So you have like a 30-minute break when school gets out until your afternoon AMT begins. And they usually get out about 5:45. So that's how Tuesdays will look for you. So it'll either be one of your longer days. It's going to be one of your longer days. It just depends on if you're going to have to get to school earlier or you're going to stay at school later, depending on which AMT you chose. Now, if you don't want to do an AMT, you do have the option to take a track. Now, a track is a course that you take typically for people who know they're called to a specific realm of ministry. And a track can last either all year long, so from, September until May, or in some tracks cases, it will last just for one semester. Pretty much every track, though, will go all year, but different tracks some require you to take it all year, and others say you only have to take it, the first half of the year. You don't have to keep going with it unless you want to. That was my case. I took the church leadership and planting track, and the requirement was just that you took it for the first half of the year. You did not have to take it the second half of the year unless you wanted to. And if you did, there was completely new content if you wanted to keep going with that track. And some tracks do carry over into second year. So for example, that church leadership and planting track that I took will go on into second year and expand in its capacity, expand in your responsibility, and so on. So if you choose a track, you cannot take an AMT. So basically the difference between that is, what do you feel called to? What are you passionate about? Because if you are really passionate about, I know I'm called to church leadership, well, if you sign up for that track, okay, but you can't do any other AMTs alongside of that. So those are just some things to decide. Do I want to be locked into one particular class all year, or do I want the flexibility of taking a different class every 5 weeks? So you just kind of choose that. And then if you get a particular track that you love but doesn't require all year, then you do have the ability to do 2 AMTs for your second half of the school year. I hope that's making sense. I won't go into what all the different AMTs and tracks are because there's too many to offer and too many to mention. Just know that you'll find the things that you're passionate about. And, for me, I did some different stuff my first half of the year. And then as I kept growing, I was figuring out, oh no, I know I'm more called to this actually. So I'm really glad I was able to transition out and take a couple other AMTs so I could kind of go after what was more important to me. But if you're one of those people who knows that you know, I'm called to the arts, I'm called to creativity, and so I'm going to take the creative track, and I'm going to be in that all year. Perfect. Like, there's no wrong or right, just one is a little bit more restrictive than another in terms of the options. Yeah, so revival group pastors, interns, your church services, AMTs, and tracks. I'm trying to think. Yeah, as far as Thursdays, so you're going to meet with your revival group once per week, and that's always going to be either Monday morning or Monday afternoon or Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. So depending on whose revival group you get on will determine what day of the week you're assigned to them. And you basically, just the same way that you arrive to school early for an AMT or you stay late for an AMT, you're going to do that on the day that you have your revival group. You'll either arrive to school early, around 10:30, Monday or Wednesdays, for your revival group if you're assigned in the morning. Again, if you had morning schedule, you're going to get a morning revival group pastor. If you chose afternoon schedule, you're going to get an afternoon revival group pastor. And so you'll meet with them on Monday afternoons or Wednesday afternoons. So you'll stay later, just like you would depending on which kind of an AMT you chose. Now, Thursdays is where the day is a little bit different. That is your day for city service. So city service is basically your opportunity to give back to the community of Reading. It's also your opportunity to kind of walk in some of the ministry skills and tools and principles and core values that you're learning in school each day. And there are tons of city service projects that you will get a huge list of, and you get to choose your top, I think it was your top 3 or top 5 that you wanted. And then there's kind of a selection process that you go through. Again, it's almost everything with BSSM is first come, first serve, because there's oftentimes something a lot of people really want, and they just cannot take, 500 people into one city service. So they give you a selection where you get to choose your top however many, and then they try to match you as best they can with what they have available. So they do a great job of really trying to link and match people up with what they're passionate about. And so city services could range from like extreme kids, helping out and mentoring and loving on kids before school or after school. It could look like, there's so many. I'm blanking. There's just so many. And I don't want to take, a lot of the surprise out of it. So just know that you will find something you're passionate about. And even if you don't, or if you don't get into things you really want to, trust the Lord, because every person I know who didn't get the city services they wanted and they got put in something else that seemed so random and bizarre, like there's always some reason why. And there's always some amazing thing that God teaches you through that. So, take everything you do in Bethel and in BSSM with open hands, like never holding on, like it has to be this way. I know so many people who applied for worship team, didn't get it, and they're amazing musicians, but they trusted the Lord, and they see now, at this point in the year, they're seeing why, and how amazing the school year has been when they came here thinking they were going to do one thing, but they ended up doing something entirely different. So being able to have that really flexible approach that says, Holy Spirit, I trust you. Whatever you want me to do is what I'm going to do. Here's what I love, but I trust you. He is ultimately your guide, and you can trust the leadership of the school to really do their best to put you where is best. So there's that, but they will always talk with you and work with you to the best of their ability if you're just super unhappy with something. But so that day you do your city service. So you might do your city service in the morning. You might do your city service in the afternoon, depending on what you sign up for. Then there's some city services that are once a month on a Saturday. or on Friday night strikes, or bar ministry, going out into the bars. And so those are going to be on the weekends typically. So every city service kind of has a different expectation, a different schedule, depending on what the nature of the service is. I'm in retirement homes. So I wasn't originally. I was actually in a different city service for a little while, but it wasn't working for me. And so I reached out to the leadership, and they were able to transition me out to whatever they had left at the time, which was retirement homes. And I love it. It's an absolute blessing. So you just never know. And then there are some tracks that if you get in a certain track, you have to take the city service that sort of links up with it. These are rare cases, but it does exist. And or if you sign up for a certain city service, it may say, hey, just be aware that this track accompanies this city service. So if you sign up for it, you're going to get this automatically. So, and they try to communicate that to you, but just be aware. Some things have different restrictions and schedule requirements. Some city services have auditions if it's like spoken word. Some want writing examples if you're a writer and it's a writing related city service. So, everything has a different qualification. Others just, there's no requirement. It's like maybe you're going and helping out mowing lawns and pulling weeds in the community for the city. Like, not a lot required in that as long as you physically can do it. So everything is kind of different. But there's a lot of flexibility, and the city service opportunity is a great place to be stretched and to build community with the people around you and to just see Jesus show up and do super cool things. I could talk all day about my experience just in the retirement homes. Heidi Baker prophesied that revival would start in Redding in the retirement home. So come on, Jesus. Ropes course. One of the most dynamic experiences for me. And retreat. These are two really big things that happen like pretty quickly once the school year gets rolling. Again, it all depends on everybody's revival group in terms of school scheduling. But you almost always go to retreat sometime in October. Don't quote me on that, but for me it was, and I think for most people I knew it was. And this year we had 3 different locations we went to, because first year keeps getting larger in size, so they're having to find multiple places to host retreat weekends. And then in my case, we went to the newest site, which was this really, really beautiful place that they had never brought a team to. So we got to do that as the first group to ever go, which was really neat. And retreat weekend is basically a weekend where you go away into the woods somewhere with your revival group, and usually 1 or 2 other first-year revival groups and maybe 1 or 2 second-year revival groups. And you go away in the woods and you just have power encounters with God, amazing times of worship. It's just a time to get away, to really connect with your revival group and to connect with Holy Spirit, because by that point you will have been in school about a month. There's a ton of transition, a ton of stuff you're wrapping your head around. Homework is getting going. And it's just a great opportunity to just really connect with God's heart and say, okay, what is this about? Set the stage for first year. What are we doing? And some amazing encounters with God happened for me in that experience. So get excited. Wherever you go tends to be kind of chilly, so just be aware retreat can be a little bit chilly, but you're roughing it, but you're not roughing it that bad. But it is an absolute bonding experience to the max. And and you get to overlap with second years, which doesn't happen too much because second years are at a different campus than us all year, so it's kind of a great experience to get. They minister to you, they give you a lot of ministry because they're moving in their leadership at that point. But it's just a great time to even connect with them that you wouldn't normally get. And then Ropes Course. Ropes Course begins, and they send revival groups. Again, you're doing all of these things with your 70-some revival group members. But Ropes Course is something that you will do in Weaverville, which is the city that Bethel, the Chris V. and Bill Johnson originally came out of before they took over the Bethel Church here in Redding. And so they still have their old sort of church there back in Weaverville, and on the church grounds they have built this high ropes course that you go through with your entire revival group, and it's just a really tremendous opportunity to learn about trusting in God and bonding and growing and for me, the most powerful encounter I've had with Jesus, second to something I experienced just 2 weeks ago, the biggest encounter with God I've ever had in my life happened at ropes course, which I was completely not expecting. I actually came there with like really low expectations and was like, oh, ropes course, high ropes, it's easy, it's gonna be great, I'm not afraid of heights, and had pretty low expectations, and God just blew my mind with what he showed me and taught me through that. So come there and go to retreat with high expectations. Yeah, so ropes course, they start sending teams out in October, and I think the last group went in November. They may have even started some going in as early as September. And they rotate you out, so you'll just randomly see in the Civic Center like a little pocket of people gone because they're on ropes course. But all of school continues on while your revival group is away at retreat or is away at ropes course. Yeah, but these are kind of the two main things as far as like events to look forward to during school that you will go away to do. Of course, your revival group will have different like parties, Christmas parties, and different just times to get together and hang out. Yeah, but those are like the main experiences that they do straight off the bat, just to really bond you and let you see kind of what is going to happen this year, what's going to go down, what's available to you from Holy Spirit and from Jesus and everything. Yeah, then and we're pushing 30 minutes here, guys. I hope you're hanging tight with me. I hope this is all, helpful to you. But on top of all of that, you will be assigned a small group. So your small group is a group of 4 to 5, maybe even 6 men or women. So that's where you're just sectioned off by gender. And you are prayerfully put into this group of women or men. And this is your opportunity to really bond, to really get down to the nitty-gritty with people that are in your revival group and, walking through the same stuff you're walking through. And it's where really amazing relationships can be forged. And after about 5 weeks of doing that, the small group will choose a leader, and you'll move forward as a led small group. Then you have core groups. So core groups are groups that you have like 4, maybe 5 small groups all coming together and making up one core group. And that's where guys and girls will blend at that point, with the different third-year interns that oversee those core groups. They will also be there with you. And those are an awesome opportunity to collectively, but in a still smaller than revival group, but larger than small group, it's an opportunity again to process through and go after deeper breakthrough as a sort of mid-level size unit. And that's also amazing. Just such a great opportunity. So you usually, this year, they've kind of switched it up. I think what core group used to be last year to what core group is this year. So I don't really know what it'll be like for you guys next year. They're always trying new things and growing as a school, but for us right now, we meet with our small group like 3 times a month, and we meet with core group 1 time a month. But I think they're even changing it for us to where it'll be like 2 times a month with small group, 2 times a month with core group. I'm not sure. It's all kind of fluid. I am the small group leader of my small group, so that's been a huge honor. And there's kind of some cool things that come along with that I won't really ruin for you. But so they do a great job of taking that huge room of 1,300 people, shrinking it down to your 70 revival group people. Then you go down to like your 30, 25-ish core group, and down to your 5 small groups. So they're trying to make you as safe and as connected as possible through this journey, because first year is a lot. It's a lot. And I thought I came to first year pretty healthy, pretty rock solid. And a lot of people are, by and large. But there are still crazy things that God does to just blow up your world in the best way. And so there's a lot to process. There's so much you grow. It's like just an acceleration of everything you know about God and walking with Him and loving Him and the bride of Christ and callings and giftings, anointings, you name it. you're just accelerated to such a place of maturity. And of course, while you're going through all this deep heart surgery with God day in and day out, you're still reading tons of books. Those books are no joke, guys. You read a lot of books throughout the school year. You have Bible homework, you have book reports, you have Kingdom Foundation homework, which is, really just causing you to go even deeper into the Bible, answering different questions about different passages of Scripture. And those homeworks, I would just weep through them. They're very touching and moving and deepening. And then you have a lot of Bible reading that you're assigned on top of your book reading. So homework is no joke. You are working hard in school. But I will say, and they say this all the time, if you're somebody who's just really like homework, I always get it done on time, perfectly, like God will teach you grace. He does a lot of stripping away of who we've always been and building us into someone new, healthier. So sometimes that might mean he has you not turn your homework in on time. Or if you're somebody who is just super lazy when it comes to homework, like he's going to call you to a higher level of excellence. It's just unique ways that he strengthens and challenges us that we don't see coming initially. But there is so much grace in this culture, and we are free and responsible. It's one of our core values at BSSM. We are free and responsible. So like in your freedom, you're still responsible for taking good care of yourself and making the best choices you can make as you go through this year. But trusting God through it all. So last kind of like little details I was going to mention, you're allowed 16 absences over the course of the year, which sounds like a lot, but if you get sick like I did and you eat up a whole week of absences, oh no, you want to save them up as much as you can. You want to try not to use them as much as you can. If you miss a church service, that's an absence. If you miss your city service, that's a partial absence. And they kind of have this whole like partial absence, tardy, full absence. There's a lot of language around absences, but you'll figure that part out. But you are allowed 16. However, turning in your homework, not using a ton of absences, all of these things are taken into consideration when you're getting close to graduation and looking at second year. These are things that they do look at to determine if you are, a well-qualified potential candidate for second year. How did you handle first year? How did you honor the system? How did you, come up to the standard of school? And there's tons of grace. Like I have not been super great at my homework at times, but I've just tried to be really honest with my interns and let them know where I'm at, what I'm processing through, what I'm going through, why this is what's going on. And they're super gracious because at the end of the day, like, yes, definitely meet the school standards, definitely do the homework, definitely show up. You're paying a ton of money to show up and be here, and you don't want to miss it, trust me. But at the end of the day, like, this whole experience is about you and Jesus. It's about walking with him and deepening your love for him and learning his love for you and your true identity, and just going into places maybe for many of us we've never gone before. Unlocking our destiny. There's just so much intensity and so much heart surgery that you walk through that sometimes you don't even realize you're walking through until you get to a certain point. You're like, oh my goodness, what's just been happening? And so there is, like I say, I can't stress it enough, there is a ton of grace. But still, the school set things up and has certain expectations and guidelines and standards for a reason, right? It's all for our good. One second. Yeah, okay, so I wanted to show this as well. This is my badge. So you will be given a first year badge straight away. I can't remember if I got mine on orientation day. I believe so. I believe at orientation, before the official first day of school, they hand you your badge, they take your photo. There's kind of a whole process, but yeah, and they may change the format of it for what it looks like for your year, but this is generally it. It's got your photo on it. first and last name, where you're from. Yeah. And this little barcode here, this barcode right there, and also on the back, you will swipe. You will become a master swiper, because you have to swipe before your city service, you have to swipe before your AMTs, your revival group, before main session. So, and swiping is how they keep track of your attendance, your tardiness, the whole nine. So you will become a professional swiper. You do not want to lose this. You do not want to forget this. You will keep this and wear this somewhere on your clothing all the time, okay? Some people put it on a lanyard. It doesn't really matter as long as you have it. Security guards stand at the front door of the Civic every single day and ask you where your badge is, and they will not let you in without it. So just be aware. That's a super important piece of your gear, and swiping is life. You will swipe at your church service even, okay? So yeah, just don't forget about that. And we're pushing 40 minutes, guys, and I'm just looking through. I don't want to tell y'all everything. I think I'm giving you enough of the core, but these were just things that I wished that I had known coming in. Like, I had no grid for, like, what does the schedule look like, what does a week look like, what are AMTs, you know, and so I'm just hoping that this proves to be somewhat helpful. There's a lot more that I could talk about just in terms of what BSSM is, what it does, how it changes you, but everybody's perspective is going to be different because everyone's experience is different. It's amazing to sit in a room with 1,300 people that, I mean, you just don't even know the giants that are sitting next to you, who have had ministries, who have walked away from multi-million-dollar businesses, who have families and children, all the way down to somebody who just graduated high school and this is the first higher education they've ever had. I mean, you are just shocked. I'm constantly shocked at who I'm sitting next to and what their story is and how they got there and what they're going through. And everyone's experience is always so different. There's some always overlapping themes, but generally speaking, like what you're going to go through, very few people may be able to fully relate because everyone's going through something else, and you're sitting in a room with people that are all at different levels and different experiences with Jesus, all pressing in for the one thing, which is more of him. It is a truly transformational and unbelievable experience. If you're considering, if you're on the fence, like, really pray about it, but at the end of the day, like, it was unequivocally the best decision that I've ever made in my life, without exception. So I'm gonna recommend it to anybody who asks me. But yeah, I think that this should be helpful. If you have any questions, you can always put your questions down below and I will try to answer them. You could always find me on Facebook. If you're a prospective student or a student who's already been accepted to first year, feel free to add me on Facebook. There's like a 90% chance I'll be in second year, so you'll probably see me inadvertently anyways around school. But add me on Facebook, send me your messages. I'm happy to answer you. Make sure you join the Facebook page that they mentioned, because that's a lot of places where you can get questions answered. And a lot of the times the second years or third years will join the first year Facebook page to help answer some questions that a lot of incoming students have. And make use of Facebook when it comes to trying to find your apartment in the place you're going to live. Talk to your first years, and don't be hesitant to live with second or third years, because a lot of times they can really help ground you and get you more familiar with an area. So be open to that. But if living with first years is what you want to do, there's no wrong or right. But make use of it. There's tons of BSSM Facebook pages that are great. There's also Bethel Facebook pages. There's Bethel housing and classifieds, I think. There's all sorts of different things where people in the community, in the church community, have linked up to help people find housing. So you're not completely and utterly alone. Don't think that you are. The school may not help you with some of those logistical things, but there are tons of other people who will. And as first years begin to leave, the people who are staying over the summer for second year, or people who are just locals who've already done school, they're looking for roommates. So a great time to start talking to people about moving and living with them, maybe as first year's beginning to end. So that's just something logistical to think about. But over the summer, tons of housing opens up, but it gets snagged pretty quick. So talk to people before first year ends, and that, or second year or third year ends, because we all end at the same time. And get some of your get some of your questions answered in advance. I don't know if it's really important to talk about anything else logistically. Mark Brooks, Senior Overseer, Leslie Crandall, Senior Overseer, tons of pastors. None of that I think is super important for you right now. This is just basic details at this point. So I hope this is helpful, guys. Again, my name is Rachel Rich. I am a first year right now, and it is February of 2018, so only a couple months left of school, and then moving on, hopefully, to second year. And then potentially even a third year. And there's so many cool transitions involved with each of those years, completely different experiences, completely different oversight, completely different leadership. And so completely different students as you continue to evolve into your walk with the Lord on a deeper level. But yeah, I bless you guys. I bless your process. We say no to fear. Fear is a liar. School is amazing. Everything from the homework to the main sessions to pre-service prayer to AMTs, tracks. I've done it all now. And I can honestly say there is nothing about school that's not amazing. I know that sounds crazy, but it is amazing. I get something out of it every single day that I'm there. I get something from God. I learn about myself. I learn a new appreciation for the bride. And it's all about heart posture. I mean, you can have a terrible experience. You'll get out of school what you put into school, but it is absolutely transformational if you allow it to be. And, yeah. I was going to say something else, but I forgot it. Anyway. Yeah. Bless you. Bless you on your journey. It's going to be so good. It's going to be better than anything you expect. It is kind of the Hogwarts of the Christian world, or it's more commonly referred to here as the Disneyland for Christians. There really is miracles all the time. Financial miracles, physical miracles, signs and wonders, glory, glitter, dust, gold, feathers. It's all real. It's better. It's just better than anything. And even if none of those things were there, even if none of the weird, crazy, bizarre, unique manifestations of God were happening on a daily basis, the love, the community, the presence of Jesus is so profound, so prolific, so evident. The healing, the growth, those things. Even if none of the cool stuff, and I know it's Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, so it is supernatural without any doubt, but even if it wasn't, just knowing Jesus is supernatural enough, let's be real, and his presence, his goodness, it's all about him. It's all about him. Nothing else is more important than him. And I think that if anything happens to you as you go through your first year, you will come to a knowledge and an awareness and a love and appreciation for Jesus that you didn't know was possible. And yeah, if you're passionate about any leaders that might not be your personal RGP, go for it. That's another thing I was taught, and I'm so glad I did. There are going to be other leaders in that environment that you want to know and want to pull from and be imparted from, and just know. Go for it. Don't wait for them to come to you. Not even include your own revival group pastor. Go after what matters to you, who you want to know, what's important. BSSM first year comes and goes like a flash. I only have 10 weeks, maybe less than that, 10, 11 weeks. And I'm like, what? It's insane. So it flies by. You want to make the absolute most of every opportunity you're given. So yeah, thanks again so much for watching. I will probably post more videos, so check back on my page. Feel free to subscribe. I don't post often, but I feel like I will be posting a lot more moving forward, just about first year and BSSM in general, Bethel Church, things like that, that will help answer some questions that I know a lot of people have had. And do your research on Bethel Church. I gotta throw that out there. There are some people who come that only know them for their music and don't know them for their theological standpoints or some of their beliefs. And, this is a Pentecostal, charismatic school and church without a doubt. So that means do some research. Make sure you know who these people are, what they believe, and if that aligns with your heart, or if it ignites something in you that maybe you're not familiar with but you're curious about. Whatever it is, make sure you know who they are. Don't show up blindsided. They definitely will hold your hand and take you through the process of learning who we are, what we believe, but it's great if you do more research about them in advance than just knowing about their music. They're a far bigger movement and a far bigger ministry than just their songs. So definitely do your research on the church at large, Bill Johnson, Chris Valadin, the main fathers of the house, before taking any steps, okay? But yeah, God is here. He's fully in the midst, and it is going to change your life. Bless you guys. Jesus loves you.